Think about the hallway outside your apartment. It's a strange place, isn't it? It's not quite the outside world, but it's not really your home either. It's an in-between space, a silent corridor that dozens, maybe hundreds, of strangers walk down every day, each one living just a few feet from where you sleep. You might pass them with a polite nod or a quiet hello. You hear the muffled sounds of their lives through the thin walls, but you don't really know them. And you probably never think about what happens in that shared space after you've locked your door for the night. You trust that the deadbolt is enough to keep the world out. But security cameras, the silent, unblinking eyes in the corners of these hallways, often tell a different story. They record the moments we're not meant to see, the moments when the unspoken rules of communal living are broken and our sense of safety is torn away. What you are about to see are 4 such stories. This is a hallway in a quiet apartment building. But what was recorded here is a terrifying reminder that the most unsettling horrors are the ones that happen right outside your door. Section 1. The Invisible Man of the Stairwell. Let's be honest, stairwells are the forgotten parts of a building. Now that we have elevators, they're mostly used for moving furniture or the occasional fire drill. They're often empty, echoing, and just there. You pass through them quickly, your footsteps sounding unnaturally loud, your mind already on where you're going. You don't linger. Why would you? It's this exact boringness that makes them the perfect place for things to hide in plain sight. For the residents of an apartment building monitored by BOS security, their east stairwell was no different. It was just a simple passage connecting the floors, but in the pre-dawn hours of an otherwise normal day, the building's remote security team would discover just how vulnerable a forgotten space like this could be. At around 9 a.m., a security agent doing a routine virtual patrol noticed something was wrong with the feed from the east stairwell camera. The image was disorienting. The ceiling was where the floor should be. The camera was upside down. This wasn't a glitch. A glitch is random. This was deliberate. Someone had physically tampered with it. The agent had to rewind to go back and see the moment their eyes in that stairwell were blinded. The archived footage began to play hours earlier under the cover of early morning darkness. The front door of the building opens and a figure enters, an unknown male. He doesn't hang around the lobby or head for the elevator. His path is direct and purposeful. He goes straight to the east stairwell. His movements calm. He descends the stairs, then stops. He looks directly into the camera that is recording his every move. There's no surprise, no attempt to hide. He knows it's there. That's why he's there. The footage shows him reaching up, taking hold of the camera, and with a simple, practiced motion, flipping it upside down. The world on the monitor lurches violently before settling into its new, inverted view. And then, he's gone. He has vanished from the camera's now useless field of view, effectively creating a pocket of invisibility in a place that was supposed to be under constant watch. For the security agent watching this hours later, the implications were chilling. For an unknown period, this man had created a blind spot, giving him unseen control of the stairwell. What was he doing during that time? The stairwell is a critical artery of the building. How many residents might have used it, coming and going, completely oblivious to the fact that they were walking through a compromised space? They might have passed the upside-down camera without a second thought, assuming it was a maintenance issue, if they noticed it at all. The real terror of this event isn't in what the camera saw, but in what it couldn't see. The inverted image is a symbol of a world turned upside down, where security becomes a vulnerability and a safe passage becomes a potential trap. The man's motive was a mystery. Was he planning a break-in? Was he just looking for shelter? Or was it something more sinister? The protocol was initiated. Remote security agents immediately notified the on-site staff of the breach. A building manager, likely filled with dread, made their way to the east stairwell. Descending the same steps the man had walked hours before. What would they find? There, in the stairwell, hidden from the camera's gaze, the man was simply sleeping. He had made a home in the building's forgotten passage. The immediate threat seemed to vanish. He wasn't a predator lying in wait. He was just a man seeking refuge. The police were called, and he was escorted from the property without resistance. Technicians arrived later to turn the camera's world right side up again. But the incident leaves a permanent scar. The ease with which the man defeated the security system is a chilling testament to its fragility. He demonstrated that the feeling of being safe is an illusion that can be shattered in an instant. He turned a public corridor into his private, hidden bedroom. The residents who used those stairs that morning now know that even when you think you're alone, you might just be walking through someone else's hidden world, while the eyes that are meant to protect you are staring blankly at the ceiling. Section 2. The escalating nightmare next door. There are few things more sacred than feeling safe in your own home. It's the one place on earth you should be able to lock the door and shut out the world. But what happens when the threat isn't outside, but just on the other side of your wall? This is the story of a resident at the Park West Place, apartments in Houston, Texas. A story that shows how the most terrifying footage can be of a slow, creeping horror that no one seems able to stop. It all started with a feeling of deep unease. For one resident, something just felt wrong. It was a nagging dread that centered around the building's stairwell and a man who didn't belong there. He wasn't on any lease, a stranger who had started treating the shared space like his own. Trusting her gut, the resident installed her own security camera to watch her front door. She hoped it would bring her peace of mind. Instead, it documented a 6-month nightmare. At first, his presence was just unnerving, but soon, his behavior spiraled from strange to dangerous. The resident's camera started capturing a series of increasingly disturbing events. One clip showed the man in the hallway with a styrofoam box, setting it on fire. Imagine the resident watching that on her phone, seeing the flicker of flames just outside her home, a blatant act of destruction that threatened everyone in the building. Another piece of footage was just bizarre. The man, wrapped tightly in a blanket, tried to walk down the stairs, only to lose his footing and tumble down. On its own, it might seem almost pathetic, but as part of a pattern, it was another sign of his instability. The hallway was no longer a neutral space. It was his stage, and the residents were his unwilling audience. Soon, the man's presence led to conflict. The camera recorded him getting into a physical fight with neighbors, a chaotic scuffle right in front of the resident's door. The simple walk from her apartment to her car became a journey filled with anxiety. She did what anyone would do. She alerted building management and called the police again and again. She had video proof of the escalating danger, but her pleas for help didn't seem to solve the problem. Management acknowledged the issue, and police would sometimes respond, but the man always came back, a recurring specter of dread. Then, the situation took a deeply violating turn. The resident's camera captured the man engaging in sexual activity on the stairs. The public stairwell, a space used by families and children, was desecrated in the most shocking way. He wasn't just living in the stairwell. He He was claiming it, defiling it, and turning it into a place of fear. The horror was about to get even more personal. The threat was no longer just outside her door, it was at her door. The camera recorded the man approaching her apartment late at night, his shadowy figure appearing on her screen, knocking aggressively. This is a primal fear. The barrier between you and chaos is a single door, and someone is on the other side, trying to get in. Every knock was a thunderclap in her quiet apartment. She was a prisoner in her own home, watching a live feed of the monster at her gate. To make matters worse, her packages began to disappear, thefts that she linked directly to his constant presence. It was a final, insulting layer to her ordeal. Not only was her safety at risk, but her property was being plundered by the very person she couldn't get rid of. The most chilling part of this story is its resolution, or lack thereof. News reports in late May of that year indicated that after months of documented escalations, fires, fights, public indecency, and direct harassment, the situation was still ongoing. Management had reportedly begun the eviction process against the tenant the man was visiting, but he was still seen on the property. The resident was left in a state of perpetual fear, armed with a mountain of digital evidence that had failed to bring her security. Her camera proved she was in danger, but it couldn't make her safe. This case is a terrifying look at what happens when the systems designed to protect us seem to fall short, leaving you all alone to face the nightmare right outside your door. Section 3, The Midnight Movers. An apartment lobby is designed to make a statement. It's a building's handshake. The comfy chairs, the clean floors, they all create an illusion of home and security. It's a place for mundane, everyday moments. You'd never expect it to become the scene of a crime so brazen and methodical that it feels more like a corporate liquidation than a robbery. But for the tenants of the Robeson, a modern apartment building on Lenox Avenue in Harlem, that illusion was stripped away in the dead of night. The building's lobby cameras, installed to provide peace of mind, instead recorded the quiet and efficient dismantling of their home's first impression. The footage begins around 2:30 in the morning. The lobby is empty and still. Then, the front door opens. The first chilling detail is revealed. There's no forced entry. The men who enter use a key code. They walk in as if they belong there. This single fact transforms the crime from a random break-in into something more insidious. Someone, somewhere, gave them the code. The system meant to keep intruders out was used to welcome them in. 4 men walk into the brightly lit lobby. They aren't wearing masks, and they aren't in a hurry. They move with a calm, deliberate energy that's deeply unsettling. One man acts as a lookout and gives a signal. Another immediately walks over to a lobby chair, picks it up, and follows the first man out the door. It's so casual, it barely registers as a crime. But they're not done. The remaining 2 men approach the centerpiece of the lobby, the couch. Together, they lift the heavy piece of furniture. Their movements are practiced. Like a professional moving crew, they simply lift it, maneuver it toward the exit, and carry it out into the night. Tenant Marilyn Harper, after seeing the footage, was stunned as she watched them casually carry the items across the street. The security camera records the entire scene as the lobby is systematically stripped bare. A space that was once warm and inviting is now cold and hollow. In just minutes, the heart of the building's public space has been surgically removed. The silence of the footage is what makes it so eerie. There are no alarms, just the ghostly movements of 4 men stealing the very concept of home from the building's entrance. For the residents, waking up to an empty lobby was a profound shock. Apparently, some men came in the building and took all the furniture. Tenant Ashley told reporters, her disbelief palpable. That shock quickly turned to fear. The real issue wasn't the stolen furniture, it was the terrifying question that hung in the air. How did they get the code? Apparently, someone in here has given someone the code to get into our building, Ashley explained, and it has now become a free-for-all for whoever wants to open season to steal. Her words capture the deep sense of betrayal all the tenants felt. Their secure building was a lie. According to tenants, this wasn't an isolated incident. They reported to news crews that package thefts from the mailroom were already a recurring problem and claimed the security guard, who was supposed to be on duty, was often absent. When a reporter asked the building superintendent for answers, he refused to talk, deepening the residents' sense of being left in the dark. In the aftermath, some residents, like Ashley, decided to install their own Ring cameras to watch their front doors. They could no longer trust the building's security. The thieves didn't just steal a couch and a chair. They stole the residents' peace of mind. Ashley, a lifelong resident of Harlem, summed it up perfectly. It doesn't feel good to live in what you think is a new secure building and not feel safe here. The empty lobby became a monument to that feeling, a constant reminder that the things you rely on for safety can vanish in the middle of the night without a sound. Section 4, the blind eyes of security. In today's world, security is a commodity. It's a feature people are willing to pay extra for. When you choose an apartment, you look for the signs, a gated lot, key card access, and the reassuring glint of security cameras. You pay the extra fee, like the $30 a month charged at the Pulse Apartments in Memphis, because you are buying the promise that something is watching over you. But what happens when that promise is a lie? What happens when the eyes you're paying to protect you are blind? For Theron Bond, a resident at the Pulse Apartments, that horrifying question became a reality. Her story starts with a car break-in. She woke up one morning to find her car window smashed inside the supposedly secure gated lot she paid extra to park in. Parts of her steering column had been ripped out, but her initial anger was followed by a sense of reassurance. This is what the security cameras were for. She went to building management, expecting them to pull up the footage and identify the criminals. Instead, she was met with a confession that unraveled her entire sense of security. According to the Memphis police report filed on the incident, the property manager admitted a staggering truth. The 9 different cameras meant to be monitoring the parking lot had not worked in years. Let that sink in. For years, residents paying that extra $30 a month were potentially paying for a complete fiction. The cameras dotting the property were little more than decorations, creating the illusion of security while offering none. Theron Bond and her neighbors were paying for a feeling, a placebo button that did nothing. The horror here lies in the deception. When Bond later confronted the manager about this, the story changed. The manager denied telling the police the cameras didn't work. To prove her point, she then showed Bond footage from a single working camera. A camera pointed at an empty hallway, not the parking lot where the crime occurred. Imagine the scene: a resident, reeling from a crime, is shown a useless, uneventful video of an empty hallway as proof of the building's security. It was a cynical attempt to gaslight her, to add insult to injury. The manager then mentioned that even if a camera had covered her car, she wasn't willing to review 24 hours of footage to find the incident. The message was clear: we are not here to help you. The security you paid for is a sham, and even if it weren't, we wouldn't use it. Bond was left powerless, a victim of a random criminal and of the systemic negligence of the people she paid to keep her safe. Legal experts suggested she might have a claim, not for the break-in itself, but for the complex's failure to provide the security it had promised and charged for. This incident reveals a deeper fear. What's more terrifying than seeing a monster on a security camera, the slow, dawning realization that the camera isn't even on. It's discovering that the entire system you put your faith in is a hollow shell. The gated lot wasn't secure. The cameras weren't recording. The monthly fee was for nothing, as Bond rightly pointed out. The residents deserve to know what type of building they're living in. They deserve to feel safe. Management at the property group, Stella Maris, refused to provide an official statement. This story is a stark illustration of how easily security can be a facade. The hallways and parking lots of the Pulse apartments were watched over by blind eyes. The true horror isn't a figure in the dark, but the darkness of deception, knowing that when you were at your most vulnerable, the people who promised to be watching may have had their eyes closed the entire time. The unblinking lens of a security camera sees no evil. It only records. It documents the moments when our sense of safety is shattered, revealing the unsettling truth of what can happen in the shared spaces we call home. The line between a quiet hallway and a scene of horror is thinner than we think. If these stories have left you with a sense of unease, or if you have your own chilling experience, let us know in the comments below. We read every story, and if you want to see more breakdowns of terrifying true events caught on camera, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. The 4 stories you've just heard are a potent reminder that the locks on our doors can only do so much. They remind us that the most frightening monsters are often not supernatural, but human, and that sometimes the greatest horror is discovering that the one thing you trusted to watch over you wasn't watching at all. Stay aware and stay safe.